Real Rhinelander Podcast is sponsored by AirPro Fan and Blower Company. For more information, visit airprofan.com. Welcome, everyone, to this month's episode of the Real Rhinelander Podcast. This face should be, and voice, should be not an unknown to you, but this month's guest, joining me on the podcast is Mike Michalak. So I wanted to welcome you to our episode, and I really appreciate that we are going to get to have a conversation.
I've been looking forward to this since you told me.
Yeah, kind of a pre-retirement interview.
Yes. Yes.
But I'm really excited to welcome Mike and I don't know, flip the script in a way. You always do all of the interviews.
Well, this is kind of neat. By the way, this is Lauren Sackett.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I never remember to introduce myself. I know we did even talk about it. But yeah, flipping the script onto you this time. Well, I'll interview you.
That's fine. It's a test.
Yes.
It's a test.
So, I mean, if people don't know you, which I can't imagine any of the listeners today don't, can you give us a brief intro of who you are, kind of your professional life, and maybe a little intro into some of the personal life of Mike?
How long have we got? Well, it's been a wonderful 54 years as of August, and I think I've paid my dues somewhere along the way. This whole thing started right out of high school. I was in absolutely everything it had to do with either singing or one-act plays, etc. Afternoon announcements in high school, all that stuff. Just being an extrovert, I think, since I was born. But in 1972, walked through the doors of WQFM radio in downtown Milwaukee, cut my resume tape, ended up tracking records back then for 2 hours overnight, which was my first shot into real radio. Mm-hmm. Went to UW-Waukesha Center, which is no longer here, breaks my heart. But I was a mass comm and journalism major, ended up graduating from the College of Life. And you look at a lot of people that are in radio and you will see a plethora of call letters. I've only got a couple, much to my credit. Mm-hmm. One of them was, it started as WELF, then went to WYYS, and then ended up as WJJQ in Tomahawk. Was there for a long time. WWMH in Minocqua, where I met a very good friend of mine, another unknown name, Duff Damos. Yep. I went from there to 16 years at Channel 12. He went to 13 years at WIFC down in Wausau. And then we come full circle and end up with the energy media stations. And I ended up on the Morning Hodag, which I am thrilled to be on there now. I mean, it's just a powerhouse across the North Country. And that one's going to be hard to leave. I mean, it's fun. I haven't missed a country fest in 48 years. Mm-hmm. It will be kind of interesting to know what the second weekend of July actually looks like.
Yeah.
But that's about it. And it's Lauren, to be honest, I really haven't worked a day in my life. I really haven't. I've enjoyed immensely what I've done and the amount of people, that I've had to meet. I don't care what, walk of life that they're in. If they're listening, they're my best friend. If they were watching, and I spent 16 years at Channel 12, I interviewed 2 presidents. I mean, Carter in 80 and Reagan in 82. One-on-one, which a lot of people don't get to do. Mm-hmm. But traveling around at that time in TV, before the advent of satellite, NBC would fly me to the East Coast. And I'd be sitting in the chair with, Tom Brokaw on the NBC Nightly News set, or go off on the West Coast and sit down with Johnny Carson, who is a story unto itself. Mm-hmm. A lot of the stars at the time in the 70s and 80s that you're just sitting exactly like this, mm-hmm. and talking to them, whether it's Valerie Bertinelli or Joan Collins or Hart Bachner or David Hasselhoff or Eddie Van Halen. Just a number of people. I could write another book.
Yeah.
Which I'm also doing, by the way, and I'll talk about that.
You should.
But no, there's just been so much, and I've been so fortunate to be able to do that. I've self-published 2 books, and as we're recording this, I have a publisher for a 3rd book. I am a political animal. I have been lobbied over my career to run for the state Senate, to run for the state assembly. I ended up with 2 terms on the school board.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you what, there would be no crime in the state of Wisconsin if you sentence criminals to a term on a school board. It's was the worst job I've ever had in my life. But it is something that you really know the inner workings of all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And it was tough, too, because you think being in television at that time would be a conflict of interest. But that just goes to show what I gave a lot of very talented people. I watch TV today, and I can't, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I had the good fortune of hiring kids at the time that have gone on to bigger and better things. Some of them are still in it. Some of them who I hired back then are already retired, which disturbs me greatly. But and these are not unknown names. I mean, Mike Michalak, is on the Packer Network. He sits in for Dan Patrick on ESPN. Cameron Moreland's got an Emmy in Green Bay. Susan Simon, I love her, a long time in Madison. Melissa Langbin, over 30 years at Channel 9 in Wausau. All started up here, and many, many more. But I just keep kind of plugging along. I looked at my job as somewhat of a frustrated teacher, and watch today, and a lot of these kids are speaking in Ebonics that I can't even force myself to do that. But the writing has changed an awful lot, and I am just too old school. But that's where I think journalism has to go back and revisit that.
Yeah.
I mean, people are getting their stuff off of TikTok, for crying out loud, as far as news, and that just scares the bejeebers out of me.
That was actually one of my questions, is like, how have you seen the journalism landscape change through the years? Like 5 decades is a long time.
It's a great question. I mean, it's just like in radio, going from audio tape. We used to have the reel to reels, and then records, and then CDs, and now MP3s, and that progression in journalism. It is now there are no, I don't think, true reporters anymore. What they turn into are correspondents. Being a correspondent gives you the ability to have an opinion, and that is evident so much in a lot of the writing. You can tell which way a person is leaning just by the way they write.
Sure.
And that's not necessarily a good thing. It's incumbent upon us, and I still write newscasts. I don't record them anymore, but that's part of the transition that we're making in radio for us. But I write it, and you have to let the people make their own decisions. You give them the facts, which I don't care what network you're watching, and there are now a ton of them, or which influencer you're watching. They tell you what to think, and that has been the biggest change.
Sure.
Just because a candidate says this, and this, I don't need somebody else telling me what this, and this means. I'm smart enough to figure that out for myself, and I believe that the majority of the listeners and the viewers out there are smart enough as well.
Sure. So 10 decades in the media industry. Do you remember what your first hard-hitting story or your what's the first story you
Holy
really
cow.
Remember? Taking you back through the years.
That's you caught me on that one. I mean, there have been so many.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
Is there one that's stuck with you the most, maybe?
Well, the one that impacted me the most, and I was very much. I mean, I was well into school, was when President Kennedy was assassinated. I mean, it's there were so many things that went on historically that you watch from afar, but still you have to report on it. You're getting local reactions and things like that. But I mean, locally, one of the ones here, and it's kind of funny because a friend of mine posted some pictures of me back in the old TV days. I mean, I'm shooting a Fresolini 16 millimeter camera. That's one of the Mickey Mouse ear cameras that you used to see back in the day. And it's when the paper mill was on strike here. And our oldest daughter had about 16 adoptive grandparents because I didn't have my kids raised by babysitters. My wife worked, I worked, and the labor temple was still here. And to this day, there are still people that, in fact, they come to the farmer's market and, ask how they're doing, how the kids who are now, I've got one grandkid out of college already.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. But watching that part of the history here change, the first strike they ever had, and we were right there. It also brought by one of the scariest times in covering the story, because it was, I think, February, so it's cold. And you think of the pictures of the big, 55-gallon drum outside with the fire and all the guys around it with their picket signs. That's exactly what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was a small airplane with the window out in February. I won't mention the pilot's name, but as you know, the paper mill is not far from the airport.
Right.
And like from where we're sitting here at the chamber, technically it's illegal to fly a drone from here because you were within 4 miles of the airport. Well, we're in an airplane and I'm shooting, hanging out the window in February, going, and I look up and I see the R from the smokestack go by. So we couldn't have been more than 300 feet off the ground. That was kind of scary.
A very unique and interesting story, though. Something I'm sure you'll never forget.
No, that one, no. But there have been, other things. The biggest thing too, and one of the things that I don't even know what kind of word to put on it, but despite being as outgoing and as public as I am, I'm basically a fairly humble person. And I learned that because I was nominated for an Emmy and didn't get it. I was nominated for the Wisconsin Broadcast Hall of Fame and didn't get it. I was nominated for the Wisconsin Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame and didn't get it. I'm not in it for all of that. But the Emmy, people that remember back, and it's unfortunately still going on today. I was on the governor's commission. Thompson was the governor at the time for the off-reservation treaty rights and spearing and hunting, gathering in the ceded territories. And because of the longevity, because I treat people fairly, they trust me, they trusted my staff. And I would tell everybody that we had no contracts in those days when I was on TV. And we had upwards of a staff of 16. And all I wanted to do was shake your hand, own your butt for a year, and I'll teach you everything, or teach you everything you need to know before you move on. And they would move on to something bigger and better than I'd ever have. So they would question me all the time as to why I would not let them go to the landings. I feared for them, literally. I had to wear a flak jacket. I'm getting death threats. How they got my number, which was unlisted at the time, I have no idea, but they did. And Mike Allen at the time was the president of the Lac de Flambeau band. I play softball with them. And they have to announce where they're going on any given night for spearfishing. And I would know before the sheriff's department would know. And they would all call me as to, what goes on. I was subpoenaed, I don't know how many times to go into court because of the footage. I've gone through 2 search warrants, which are not pretty, by the way, because they don't have to put stuff back. And that is probably the pinnacle of the broadcast career, because that was when the Emmy nomination came, just for the ongoing coverage. And it made national news. We were lucky that nobody died. In upstate New York, they were killing each other over similar issues. There was gaming up there. But it was something that was a very black eye for northern Wisconsin, but was the best thing that ever happened to my broadcasting career.
It's really interesting to hear some of those stories.
Oh, there's plenty. Trust me.
I'm sure you have a ton. So did you always know that you wanted to work in radio and TV? Or
that kind of goes back to what I was mentioning in high school. I'm a voracious reader, and that's all I do all day is read. I like to communicate. I like to entertain. I like to inform. And radio gave me that first ability. And I didn't like television because I had to wear a tie. So, you had to look the part. But radio, you can be anonymous, up to a point. In TV, even in Rhinelander, I couldn't go out to eat. People come up to you and everything else, they're talking, which is fine. But when I'm with friends or my wife or whatever, it gets a little bit, long in the tooth.
Yeah.
But, it's always flattering to know, that they are watching. And that's why we do it. But radio gives you that anonymity until I open my mouth.
I was going to say, I don't think you're that anonymous, Mike.
No. But that's something. And I have, as you know, have emceed countless things. I've been with you guys for a long time, and Lord willing, that'll continue in the future in some way. I'll be still doing things with the Hodag Sports Club, and I've been doing their annual banquet for years now, and those are the things that I enjoy. And I'm rambling, but it's just there's a lot. I can just keep going in circles here.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of all these kind of interesting questions of what we can talk about, because your career is amazing. I think it's an amazing thing to be in. I mean, any type of career for the length that you have been.
Well, what's not to interrupt, but I had opportunities to move, and those came in television. I was offered a job at WBAY in Green Bay. I was offered a job at WFRV in Green Bay. And one of them was to be based in the Shawano area, Oconto County, and be like a Charles Kurwalt, where I would be traveling all over northeastern Wisconsin, doing these human interest stories and things like that, which I love to do because they're long form. You're not stuck with 90 seconds or 60 seconds. You could actually tell a story. But the thing is, I'd be away from home a lot.
So that was going to be kind of my next question is, did you grow up in the Rhinelander area? Like, how did you land here?
Born in Milwaukee, started school there. My folks bought a resort up in Lake Tomahawk, out on Bird Lake, called Bird's Eye View. The time that I was away from here, I graduated the first graduating class of my dad from New Berlin Eisenhower High School. And my brothers both graduated from Lakeland because we were up here. And so I'm, Lake Tom is a suburb of Rhinelander. So been here for a long time. And married my wife Lori in 1980. In fact, just yesterday, as we're recording this, was our 46th wedding anniversary. And how she's stuck with me this long is a question, especially in this business, because usually, you see a divorce or three in broadcasting just because of the time commitment.
The time commitment.
I this morning, I'm on vacation now, and I actually slept until 4:30 this morning. I mean, that's unheard of for me. I was going to
say that's very late
because I'm at work at 3. But that's one of the things that being born, you're this big and they bring you up here, and that's fine.
So you've had opportunities to go other places. Is there something about the Rhinelander community that just made you say, no, like I want to have my career here?
Again, a great question. And back in those days, my goal, and I'm being very brutally honest here, was to be a big fish in a little pond. Ego is a very, very ugly thing. And I fully admit that when I was first starting, first of all, I did news, sports, and weather by myself 5 days a week, 2 shows a day on 16 millimeter film. I was the only one there, news, sports, and weather, for almost 2 years. And I'm figuring, okay, this has got to be worth something. And I think it was Clarabelle Prosser who was the mayor back in the day. And I did something that was totally stupid publicly, and she dressed me down in public. And from that day on, and I'm talking a long time ago, that little green monster, and I'm not talking to Hodag, is not a good thing. And I have learned, it's good to get the ego stroked every once in a while, but especially a lot of kids these days think that because they're in radio, because especially in television, I'm sorry, it's just they're putting their pants on the same way, etc. And they're going to get burned if they keep it up.
Mm.
And there are a lot of egos in this business, especially when you do move on.
Sure.
Because what you have to do to get ahead, again, especially in television, is you're going to walk over somebody.
Mm.
I wasn't ready to do that. So I wanted to stay here because, well, I hunt and fish like crazy. And raising the family here is a lot better. I mean, my girls hunted, they fished, they still do.
Mm.
And it was just a better way of life. You know, we've got the same house. Well, we've been in it for over 40 years and built it the way we wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
And now just tweaking it a little bit now as I move toward the twilight of things here. And it hasn't changed. It's the same. The people are wonderful. You know, you can say hi to people that you don't even know and get a hello back, and just get that feeling of family. And that's overused a lot, but it's really true here.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, working with the chamber. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, I look at what you women have done here. It's fantastic. I see the membership growing. I see what's going on, you know, through this organization and trickling out throughout the area.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm sticking around.
Yeah. We've had other conversations that like Rhinelander just has this really authentic group of people.
Yes.
Like the authenticity of the people that are here and the conversations that you can have, like we're real people.
Good adjectives. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned fishing.
Mhm.
Can you talk to me? I know it's a hobby that you have not been able to do as much the last few years. Talk to me a little bit about your history with fishing and the 60-second angler and all of that.
In between things, I mean, I technically started guiding at our resort at my grandparents' place out on Bird Lake when I was 14. And we would take people out that were staying with us or whatever, and got into it a little bit because right across the road from us is Little Lake Tom, and I could go all the way to Minocqua from there and know that water like the back of my hand, but it's
Mhm.
always been a passion. Ended up being the president of Fishing Hotspots Maps when they were here.
Mhm.
The best fishing maps you can buy. And they were based here, started by a gentleman by the name of Bob Knops on his kitchen table, grew into a national company
Mhm.
based in Rhinelander. And we had maps all over the country, branched into saltwater. And just in the not too recent past, you know, they've moved on to bigger, better things with the advent of digital,
Mhm.
which is eating everything alive. But I did that for a number of years. It put me all over the country, in Canada, Mexico, down in Cabo. I mean, I could show you a picture of my set with my 7.5-foot blue marlin right above my 56-inch muskie, but which pales in comparison to that fish.
Mhm.
But fished all over the place. And over 30 years ago, started the 60-second angler and ended up in 31 states in front of 30 million people a month. And what was nice is you see a lot of fishing shows today that, I mean, it's all done on a cell phone. You know, you could call it two Bubbas fishing.
Mhm.
Everybody thinks they're an expert now because they have this technology. Well,
Mhm.
I'm big to differ.
Mhm.
The lures, because I love muskie fishing. I've got, it's not a lot, but I have 19 fish over 55 inches to my credit.
Mhm.
They're all Wisconsin fish. And the show isn't a half hour where you have to dedicate time to it. It was 60 seconds long.
Mhm.
And it was tucked into the sportscasts of these weekend casts in little towns like Dallas
Mhm.
and Sacramento, even because we were out on the West Coast, all over the Midwest, Chicago, ran it. And I would get, you know, tons of letters in the beginning, and then the emails would come in, show suggestions, etc. At the most, I had 17 fishing licenses across the country. Fished in almost every state except Alaska, Hawaii, and I think Utah. That Texas at one time brought me down. There's only one natural lake in the state of Texas. Everything is man-made, and that's Lake Meredith up in the Panhandle. Monster walleye, big walleye. And they wanted me to teach them how to jig. They didn't know. because all I'll do is troll back and forth.
Sure.
And spent 3 days out there, and the average size fish was 27 inches. That's a lot of walleye.
Mm-hmm.
So, I miss that dramatically, that recently retired from that. If for no other reason than, if I was a maybe 25, 26-year-old female, wearing a thong bikini, filleting fish on the back of a pickup truck, that's what fishing has become now. Or you're in a boat that's, doing warp factor 2 with 300 horse motors on the back.
Yeah.
That's not fishing.
A little different now.
And it's just, you put me in a pram and I'll catch fish.
Mm-hmm.
It's do you need all the tools? No. The electronics? No. But that's changed too.
Yeah.
And it's still, I've got some of the toys in my boat, but I know what I want. You see these fishermen, especially the musky guys, and it's just a riot, because you walk across their tackle boxes and they've got probably 150 lures in there. I bring a styrofoam bucket with maybe 12
mm-hmm.
because I know the conditions. I know what I want to throw. I know where we're going.
Sure.
And I'll catch one.
So this is a question that I always hesitate to ask a fisherman, because they usually don't want to answer.
Well, that's because we lie.
Do you have a favorite lake or chain of lakes or place that, like, if you really want to go out for the day and you'll have a good time, that you really like to fish?
Another great question. Depends on who I'm with.
Sure.
If I'm going to take kids out, I'll go out to the lake I'm on, which you can't put a boat in,
mm-hmm.
at least with a motor.
Sure.
But there are wonderful bass fishing. I don't go bass fishing on purpose unless I have a kid in the boat. Mm-hmm. I love fishing with kids because I know we're going to catch something.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm on a catch and eat routine, the tomahawk chain is tremendous now that it's opened back up with walleye.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagle River chain for muskie. I've never been skunked. Now, not all legals,
mm-hmm.
But still, I get pretty jacked up when there's a fish on the end of the line.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a couple of my favorite stories don't even really involve, fish.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the beauty of the show. My number one show out of those 31 years is how to tie a Palomar knot, which is the toughest knot in fishing. I took 20-pound test line, tied it from my boat to a big aluminum boat, and towed it. With 20-pound test. The second most, well, and just I haven't gone fishing the opening day of fishing in decades, because a lot of lunatics are out in the opener.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would do, I would park over at the boat landing in Lake Tomahawk and just videotape people trying to back up.
It is interesting to
watch. That's one way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
I have saved many a marriage, I think, by helping young ladies try to back up with the tears streaming down their face and their husband yelling at them from the back of the boat.
I really try to avoid being involved in docking and getting a boat off the trailer.
Mm-hmm. No, it is an art.
Mm-hmm. What about fishing through the ice? Do you have a favorite spot that you like to ice fish?
Well, as you are fully aware,
yes.
2010, I was fortunate enough, along with Brian Gaber, to bring the world
mm-hmm.
to Rhinelander. That was the World Ice Fishing Championships, the first time ever in this country. 16 nations. These guys, a lot of them have never even set foot in this country. We won the gold medal that year. One of my proudest moments. We got to, drink the champagne out of the big, crystal chalice that they gave us for the trophy. But learned so much that ice fishing, I prefer smaller lakes. A lot of them that, you really can't even get to by a boat, because they're severely underfished, which is good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And, Boom is great because it's a river system. A lot of people don't realize that,
mm-hmm.
that water, as governed by the Wisconsin Valley Improvement Company, can only go up or down about 2 inches through the dam. And that dam scares the heck out of me because it's old.
Mm-hmm.
And really, there's still a debate as to who technically runs it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens in the future, but great potential A lot of big muskies in there, wonderful crappie, good bass, too many northerns, and it's a great recreation lake as well, which cuts into the fishing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's those smaller lakes are the
Sure.
ones that I'll go to. Notice all the names that I gave you.
Yes,
So
exactly how I thought you might
Yes.
reply to those questions.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty standard for
well,
fishermen.
it's that usually it's like Lake X or something like that.
Yeah, my husband submitted a fish picture of one of our kids catching a fish to the TV station, and he wrote a fish caught on an Oneida County lake.
Yes. And good for him.
Yes, yeah, it's totally what I expected.
Uh-huh.
So we've talked a little bit about media. We've talked a little bit about fishing. I know you're involved in various nonprofits, one of them being the Farmers Market. Can you share a little bit of your background with that and, why that's important to you?
It is, what now? I think this is our 34th year. Fortunate to be president of the board. My wife and I have been in that now, I think, for 12 years, 13 years. Our apple butter is a big hit.
Mm-hmm.
But we are now at the largest we've ever been. We have 27 vendors. They don't all show up at one time because this is very seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
But as you get into July, August, et cetera, the more of them show up because the crops are ready. HodegFarmersMarket.com has a great resource. In fact, we're starting to retool the site a little bit, but it has a growth chart to show you when a lot of these things are available at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got people now that have the produce. We've got mushrooms. We've got artisan coffee. We've got the jams and jellies. We've got everything is handmade, and we only serve the primary 5 counties that are surrounding us. That's it.
Sure.
We've had people like the ginseng people down in Marathon County. They're outside our area. We're not afraid to say no. We're not afraid to say no and have people that are selling fingernails and ginsu knives.
Mm-hmm.
So
very hyper local.
It is
grown
homemade. We've got woodworkers. We've got wood turners, craftsmen
mm-hmm.
that are building these things. We've got paper crafts. We've got quilters, and again the nonprofits
mm-hmm.
That are there. And I'll make a plug that any nonprofit that wants to come out, it's absolutely free. And it's other people too that have something that they believe that they can sell in a farmer's market arena. It's $10 a Saturday.
Very
and
affordable.
It really is.
And so that's every Saturday, like Memorial Day weekend through the middle of October?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. This year we'll wrap it up, I believe, on the 18th of October.
Okay.
And it's amazing because, you go through that big stretch like last year. We had a gorgeous October day.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of years before that, we made the front page because we were making snow dags in our area because of the amount of snow that we got. So you never know.
It is always an interesting spring and fall to see what Wisconsin weather does. Definitely
is.
So one of the things that we definitely need to talk about is your connection with Hodeg Country Fest and how that has, you said 48 years
mm-hmm.
to me earlier, that you've never missed one. Your experience with that and
1978.
Yeah.
Wikipedia lies because they said there were about 500 people there. There weren't. There were maybe 300 because you can count them. We played the real jarts in between the chairs and the blankets out there. The stage was nothing more than a platform. I interviewed Leroy Van Dyke that year and asked him about the festival, and he said that there's not going to be a second one. It was just an amazing interview because I talked to him years later, and I think he was here, I don't know, 6 or 7 times, but it's one of his favorite places. And it's a lot of entertainers,
mm-hmm.
have said that. I was fortunate enough, 3 years ago, wrote a book
mm-hmm.
about it from all the experiences. And it's an insider's look because I never sat out in the seats. And there's another story about that in just a second. But everything that I've had is from backstage.
Mm.
It's a very unique perspective. And seeing how all the inner workings are, seeing is how, remembering Ernie Feit grabbing Billy Crash Craddock by the shirt, slamming him against the wall of the backstage while his drummer's doing a blistering solo and telling him, if you want to get paid, you're going to play country, because he went into a blistering rock set. And crash at the time was, very rockabilly. And, but, I was this far away from the whole thing happening, where we had to take 2x12s and take them from the backstage onto the front steps of the buses because the water was so deep backstage, which is why we have Rhinelander that weekend. But it was about 2 feet deep, and that's the only way you could get across to the bus and unload things was to come across on 2x12s. And the amount of artists that have been here in the book, I asked the family, the girls that run it, who did they want to see most of all? And Dolly Parton was the answer for all three. She doesn't do festivals. And there are not a lot of people in country. Now, the modern ones, yes, because thanks to technology and streaming and everything else. I mean, I look at the recent ACM Awards just the other night, and the Red Clay Strays, win Group of the Year. I work for a country station. We've never played them, but they're huge on the larger stations, on the streaming services, et cetera, and they're a damn good band. And why our network doesn't pick it up, it's all numbers, it's all dollars, et cetera.
Sure.
And they chose to take the independent route, and it's wildly successful. But
interesting.
But having to sit down and talk with people like Glenn Campbell, George Strait, Garth Brooks, Reba McEntire, all these people. And it was just, and I have to admit here, we had the first time in my career at the Hodag where I actually sat in the chairs and watched a show, and watched most of it with my eyes closed, listening back to the 1960s and 70s, because Three Dog Night was on that stage. I was fangirling, Lauren. It was, I was taken back to high school.
So that was the first time you sat in the chairs?
First time ever that I sat in the chairs, because I was either in radio or television. I was at JJQ. We had just gone to 91Q Country, 10,000 watts. I flipped the transmitter switch from our little daytimer. I signed off at WYYS and signed on the next morning on WJJQ 10,000 watts, the first country station up here. And my boss said that there's this country thing going on in Rhinelander. You might want to check it out. So, okay, I will. And you've got this big monster tape recorder and stuff. And I didn't set up interview. I didn't know what to do. But at that time, they were starving for the publicity, et cetera, and talking to, to Jana Jay, to, all the other great entertainers at the time that were there. I was, in fact, when it was the Holiday Inn here in town, Joe Stampsky and Mickey Gilley were here. They had just done their album as duets, et cetera, as a collaboration between the two. And while I am inside talking with Mickey Gilley, my wife is on board the bus with Joe Stampley going over pictures because she's helping pick out the album cover.
Yeah.
Those types of things.
Yeah.
Our kids have been to, I think, almost everyone since they were born. And there are, in the early days, some wonderful pictures there. A great family shot that's on the Hodag site with my entire family and Toby Keith when he was here. And, having to sit down and talk to people, the greatest interview ever that I did. And if I think about it too long, I'll tear up, because Eddie Rabbitt was he's gone way too early, but tremendous talent, and tremendous songs in the 80s and stuff that took people to real country, but it had a good beat to it.
Sure.
He and I had a kinship, because an interview will usually run 5, 6, 7 minutes. That's it. He and I sat there for well over an hour, because there were two dads there that lost sons. And it was amazing, the kinship that we had. We kept in touch with each other that for several years after that, before he died. And a great talent. I miss him. He was a pretty cool guy. The other one that was really interesting was Alan Jackson, because I had written a book called It's Always Noon Somewhere in the World. All of a sudden, he has a song come out that says it's 5 o'clock somewhere. And someplace in my house is the letter that he wrote me saying, I did not rip you off, blah, blah, blah. It was just absolutely tremendous. I sent him a copy.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting when I can sign a copy of my book and give it to someone with the credibility of Alan Jackson.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah, that is very cool.
But there's many, many stories that are wrapped around there and wrapped around the people that made the book. I could write a second one easily, because what I would do is base it on the only way I can explain it is the debauchery of overflow. I have interviewed countless guys from the various sheriff's departments that are here.
Sure.
The names were changed to protect the innocent, but holy cow. I mean, there's a whole other culture.
It is.
That lives there.
It is an interesting space.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
So we've talked a little bit about everything. One of the things that I was hoping to touch on is so you're getting ready to retire. And what's next? What are you excited for? What are you hoping to do or not do?
Well, the honey-do list is as long as my leg, which is to be expected. But that's what I'm going to enjoy, because the things that are on that list are things that we've been wanting to do for a long time that I just haven't had the time to do.
Mm-hmm.
These are things that I can't do an hour here, 2 hours there, et cetera, and expect to get anything done. Catch up on some sleep. I don't know if that's going to change.
I was going to say, do you really think you're going to
My body alarm
sleep?
goes off, but the thing is, it makes the day longer.
Yeah.
It makes it better. And plus, it's better fishing sometimes. It's I don't mind fishing when it's dark and then coming home when it's dark. That's a good day. But what I want to do is, and this may sound selfish, but I want to take a step back. I want to just have my day be mine and not worrying about, okay, I have to go and do this event, or I have to, do this or do that. I want to get rid of those have tos, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the want tos.
The want tos is what I want to do. And just, go from there and be able to I've got one daughter yet in high school. She plays soccer. I've got a grandson that is going to be a crafter. I mean, this kid's great with his hands, and he's only 12 years old. But to watch them, grow up. I mean, like I said, I've got, one granddaughter already out of high school in the medical career. I've got granddaughter number 2 right now out at Mankato State. She's already a CNA. She's going to be a traveling nurse. And, they're well on their way to life, et cetera. And very fortunate that my girls are still all here in town. And it's just catch up with family and relax. I mean, there is a certain amount of stress, with the job.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Well, you live and die by the second.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm second late or something, there's dead air. I hate that. But now I'll be able to just, watch a movie without the phone going off or whatever. I am going to miss, and I'd be a liar if there have been literally hundreds of people on Facebook saying that when you leave, are you still going to do the weather updates? Are you still going to do the traffic stuff in the wintertime and blah, blah, blah. And where I'm flattered extremely with that, I don't know that I want to do that. I really don't. Let somebody else pick up that mantle.
Yeah.
Saying that, I'm on vacation this week, and I've already done several with all the severe weather we've been having these last few days. But we'll see. I mean, the jury's out on that one. But time on the water, guaranteed.
Guaranteed. And I also wanted to mention too, you have North Pro Video. I'm sure you still plan to do some of that as well.
Yes, that will keep me in my beer money. It's been a tremendous plus for us, because I've got 2 little competitors, Walmart and Walgreens, and they send an awful lot of business to me because I'm local. I do everything local. Film sometimes, if it's a big project. I've got a good friend of mine that I went to school with, and he does it for me. Doesn't charge for a lot of the things that you'll pay extra for with a lot of other services that are out there. But yeah, it's just, and there is so much history here
Mm-hmm.
that I see, and did things for a former judge here. And it was funny because he had some landmark cases that I was reporting on when I was in television.
Mm-hmm.
And then to see myself, boy, I got fat. Excuse me. It just the other day I had one too where there was a benefit softball game that I ended up emceeing. I still have the softball that they gave me for doing this. I work cheap, but things that I don't know if you've ever seen it. I have a complete documentary on the Rhinelander Refrigerator Company.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. And
I know you've done some work for us. We've old Discover Wisconsin TV episodes that we've gotten digitized, so we have that. And
well, the first year too, when all the Hodags came out, all the big statues, we had the Hodag parade and everything downtown, and all those in there. In fact, that just popped up on my history thing on my Facebook page the other day.
Yeah,
and that was a long time ago.
Yeah,
but it's the parade of the Rhinelander Centennial, the original 16 millimeter color film that was narrated by someone whose name I can't read on the credits because it was just back in the 50s, and from WOBT. But the thing is they had, this is when they changed the steam train to the diesel for the railroad. They had the locomotives in the parade.
Yeah.
Can't do that today because the Department of Public Works will have a cow. But and you've seen the 4th of July parades here, and you think that's a lot of people. That's not a lot of people. Back then, they were 12 deep on the sidewalks. They were 10 deep on all the roofs, and it was amazing. And to see that in color, and to be able to save that to digital, knowing that is now a master that you can use. I did some work for the Historical Society. And in fact, during the event, and kudos again to you and the gals here at the Chamber for the Hodag Heritage Festival. Again, a tremendous, tremendous event, 6 years running. It's only getting better. Had a chance to chat with Bill Vankos from the Historical Society and Mike Romportal, who's doing a lot of work for him now. And just happened to tell them, as I'm segueing into another little part of your question here, to end up purchasing my wife's folks' house on Davenport Street, which, by the way, in 1875 was known as Rhinelander Woodborough Road.
Oh.
And the only reason I know that is that I have this entire thick abstract titles here.
I love that.
But what's amazing, and I've got my cheat sheet here, that in 1906, that land was owned by the one and only Eugene Shepard. In 1907, Anderson A.W. Brown, lumberman, timberman, huge name, had that in 07. In 1913, this gentleman was instrumental in doing the Rhinelander Brewery, the Rhinelander Refrigeration Company, and Rhinelander Telephone. And that was Otto Hilgerman, whose building is downtown. In 1938, Arvid Mode, and he is the father of Mel Mode, who many of us know and miss. Now his son Mitch has taken over because we're talking Mel's Trading Post downtown. It's interesting in going through the book where in the mid-1900s there were, in fact, Mr. Mode bought it for $1. It was a distress sale. In the mid-1900s, it was caught up in a lot of divorces, in a lot of tax delinquencies, etc. And in 1964, my wife's parents bought it and owned it until I bought it just 2 years ago. And it's amazing. I mean, we looked at, this is the place with the pool on Davenport Street. We had Lee Merriweather, who was Miss America at the time. They're swimming at a party. That's part of the history. And to be a part of that is, I'm not lying. I got goosebumps.
I mean, when you think about your career and things like this, like, you're just so linked with the history of Rhinelander.
And I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, it is who and what we are.
Yeah.
And I'm extremely proud of that. It's to the point now where I can give back a little bit, and I'm doing that through the work at the chamber, through the work that I did. I was a vice president of DRI when it was first starting.
Mm-hmm.
I missed that terribly being downtown.
Mm-hmm.
To work with the charity organizations, to work with the station, putting on the. In fact, it's going to be starting shortly with the concert series at Hodake Park. Those are the things that really, really make it special.
Yeah. Okay, I think I have a couple more questions. What do you think kind of sets Rhinelander apart? Like, we've been able to have a radio station. We've been able to have a TV station, which is unique for communities of our size. Like, what do you think maybe sets us apart and kind of has made Rhinelander this authentic, real community? You've seen it through the years. Is there anything that stands out?
I think that you just kind of answered it right there, being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
That, I remember when there was only one stoplight here. And remember teaching my wife how to drive my Jeep when it was a 4-speed. And we were at the old Pizza Hut corner, and she stalled it in the middle of the intersection, just jerked it to a halt because she's learning how to drive it, and got out, walked around, like a Chinese fire drill. Nobody honked the horn, no nothing, because everybody knew what was going on. And then she ends up driving a school bus and can parallel park behind two, Volkswagens or something with a 70-passenger bus. But it's the real thing. When you get here, you're here. The Hodag has a lot to do with that. There is not another community on the planet that has built itself around a mascot like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can go, as you know full well, anywhere in the country, and somebody's going to know, about that creature and where you're from immediately.
Yep.
That is something. There is a pride here. You look at the amount of businesses that, have the Hodag name. We're Hodag country, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, that is it. It's the authenticity that you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's progressive, yet it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that I would probably add to that for a word is charm. Mm-hmm. That's something in a lot of places, if they had it, they lost it.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't lost it. It's still there. Sometimes it hides, but it's in there.
Yeah.
It's you can see it when you're canoeing or kayaking under the bridge here by the chamber. You can see it at any one of the events that go on around here, whether it be something as big as a Hodag, or something as small as one of the brat fries for the VFW.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the people support each other here. You have a cause, I don't care what it is, people are going to support you.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's for whatever reason, they're here.
Yeah.
And they trust each other, they love each other, and we're all in this together. And I think that is the biggest thing that Rhinelander's got.
I love that. I agree. That's all I'm adding to that conversation.
Okay.
I have one more question. And maybe this is a hard one to ask. I don't know. What kind of legacy do you hope you leave behind in the media world?
Holy crap.
Springing it on you.
All I want people to remember, Lauren, is here's a guy that we could trust. I worked very hard to be, being objective today is very difficult to do.
Mm-hmm.
And my legacy is going to be in my kids, in their kids, knowing that, and they don't like it, but someone will hear the last name and, are you Mike so-and-so, whatever, and they've gotten used to that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing too when they were growing up is when I would talk, don't you ever shut that thing off? I'm sorry, it pays the bills. But again, I'm almost embarrassed. I could feel the color coming up in my face here. I've never really thought about a legacy. Just that I think I've done a good job, and I hope that the people think so.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go from there. I'm not going away.
Yeah.
and I'll be popping up from time to time. And
Haven't seen the last of you.
No, I mean it won't be as much, as the past. There'll still be commercials and things out, so you'll hear me from time to time. But as far as a legacy, that's just a word that I've never really thought of.
Well, I think that 50 years in the career, that's a testament to the trust people do have in you. That
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, but I did my job. I mean, it's I could have been a garbage man. It's just and I would have given it the same thing. But like I said before, Lauren, I've been extremely fortunate, and it's because of great places to work, great people to work with, and the people over all those years that have watched or listened that I am extremely, extremely thankful for. It helped make me who I am. I had parents who were supportive, and my dad was at one point, he was in the grocery business, but he gave me the ability to listen to people, and he was the chairman of the board at Howard Young. As a layman, he would hold the doctors and nurses' feet to the fire if they had to be. I learned a lot from that. My mom was just, this dynamic little 4'11", 90-pound thing that always told me, "You'll never grow over my head," despite the fact that I'm 6 foot. But they instilled something in us that just, and my brothers, that be good people, and I think we fulfilled that.
Love that. I've really enjoyed chatting with you, Mike. I know we've known each other for a number of years, but I really enjoy having these conversations and learning more about people's backgrounds and being able to share that publicly. So I really appreciate your time today. Is there anything else you might want to share or add to?
Not really. I mean, it's like I mentioned right from the beginning. This is I'm out of my element here a little bit. That I know that Channel 12 has contacted me to do something because it's at 16 years there, going through everything we went through there. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
But thank you for this opportunity. I think that what you're doing here with the chamber, and I've seen a lot of people in your chair over the many, many years, and I don't know in my memory that we've had one that's been here as long as you have. That the training that you've had, the ability to get out into, the Washington D.C.s of the world, the training, the classes, the other things in the tourism, etc., I think are only a benefit to the community, and it shows. And I thank you for all that you guys are doing here. This is a good spot.
Yes, we really enjoy everything we do here, and we're happy that we get to serve this community and the people that we've talked about.
It's a good spot.
It is. Can't imagine being anywhere else. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in today, and thank you again so much for this little in-depth look at Mike. That really wasn't that much time, but a little glimpse, and I appreciate that you were able to tune in and talk with us. So thank you, and tune in next month to the Real Rhinelander Podcast.